In 2012, LEGO gave us this version of Bag End. It is an unexpected gathering set that is based off of the first Hobbit movie. It came with 6 minifigures, 652 pieces, and was a little bit smaller than what we just more recently got here in 2025, where we got the Shire set, which is based off of the Fellowship of the Ring and had 9 minifigures. For over a decade, this was the only set that we had representing this really iconic scene from all of the movies, which to me just feels a little bit crazy, but I'm glad we finally got this new version. I just wanted to compare the two and just kind of look at some of the differences and some of the similarities. The original set retailed for $70 US with 652 pieces. That is a price per piece point of 11 cents per piece. The newer set here was $270 and has 2,017 pieces, which gives it a price per piece of about 13 cents per pieces. So they're really pretty similar when you look at just the price per piece, but when you're increasing that volume of amount of pieces with this newer set, that 2 extra cents per piece really does add up. The newer set, being based off of the Fellowship of the Ring, also includes a lot of smaller side builds representing Bilbo's birthday party, which is pretty fun, but definitely brings in a different perspective since a lot of these extra pieces are going to all of these side builds instead of the main structure itself. Starting with some of the boring stuff, the old version had 2 medium-sized instruction books, and the newer one has 3 total. Despite the $200 price difference, these boxes actually are surprisingly closer in size than you would have thought. On the top, we have the minifigures included, and you can see the width is a little bit smaller here on the old version, but the length is pretty much the same. And just one more view of the size differences of the 2 boxes. The only 2 characters that we have in common between these 2 sets are Gandalf and Bilbo, although of course the older version is based off of the Hobbit movies, so we have the younger version of Bilbo, and the newer version is the Fellowship of the Ring, so we have the older version of Bilbo. And the Gandalf minifigure has honestly seen a really big improvement, but of course still has that classic wizard hat that he has had and has been around for a very long time. Besides the common minifigures, the rest of the minifigures from the newer set are all hobbits, and the rest of the minifigures from the older set are all dwarves. And I'm just going to quickly note that I am not going to be doing a full review of this set in this video. I already did that in another one, so if you want to see that, you can go ahead and check it out here. Now let's take a look at the size differences between the old and new version. You can see that the new one, of course, is substantially bigger, but that's to be expected with 2,000 more pieces than the other one. Looking more on the interior, the older version had a very simple interior, and it was all one room with a table, Bilbo's book area, a chimney, and some shelves over here on the left. And on the newer version, it had 3 separate rooms: the kitchen, the front entrance area, and then Bilbo's study here. In both sets, we had Bilbo's book, and it is demonstrated with a red sticker on the front, although the older version is a brown book with the red stickers, and the newer version is this newer style of book that is already red with the red stickers and has this sticker piece on the inside saying "there and back again." Both sets also have removable tops to the hill. Let me see if I can take this one off without breaking any brittle brown. But this one comes off, and then this middle section here also pops off. And here's just a little overview from the top of the differences of the little sections that pop off. This one covers the whole entire build, and this one just covers this middle section right here. The inside of the door on the old version is fairly plain, but it does open, and on the new version, it still opens, but has these nice whip pieces that add some nice detailing there. I thought the differences of the 2 doors were pretty interesting. The old one is this normal green, and it is actually a printed piece with that marking there from Gandalf. It's pretty nice, and I do think that this color is more accurate, although I understand why they went with the dark green version for the new one, just because it does contrast a little bit nicer from the rest of the build since the whole build is green. And the size difference I thought is pretty interesting too. You can see just how much bigger the old version was than the new one. The newer version has a much more satisfying indentation into the wall, whereas the old version really just kind of lays flat there against the wall. Now, of course, these 2 builds were from different movies, so the interior scenes that they represent are totally different, where this one has the whole feast with all the dwarves with that table, and this one is showcasing more of the scenes from the Fellowship of the Ring with Gandalf and Bilbo and Frodo on the inside. One little feature that I thought was interesting is that both sets have a representation of the map of the Lonely Mountain. This one is from the old set, this one is from the new set. Turning back to the fronts of the builds, it's really interesting how the general layout is pretty much the same with this angled walkway, although this one has a little bit of elevation, ever so slightly. They have the bench here near the entrance, although much bigger and more of a simple build on the older version, and then this larger side window on the side there. Something that I think everyone will agree on is that this new fence with this boomerang piece is so much better than the older version that we got, with a few tiles that some of which have stickers on. They both feature this little gate in the front, although the new version does have a sticker of the no admittance except on party business sign. The foliage around the build on the new version is a lot more colorful and substantial than the simple old style flowers that we had dotted around. The new version just has so much more color with purples, pinks, reds, and yellows. The old build used some highlights of this light green around, while the new version is pretty much all the normal green, but the foliage is what brings in some of the other colors with the leaves and the flowers. A few similarities that I noticed between these two builds is how they do almost feel like they have a similar design language with all of these curved plates all over the place. You can see on both builds they have that, although of course this one just feels like it was made for children to build and enjoy, and this one was built and designed for adults. They both have the same amount of windows. This one has one on each side, two on either side of the door, and then the one large one there. And it is the same thing here with the ones on the sides, two on either side of the door, and the one larger one there. It's easy enough to compare just the two structures, but then you remember that this set also comes with a lot more than the other one. And this just makes it a lot easier to see just how much more you are getting with this version than you are with this one. One thing to note is that the new version does come with Gandalf's cart, which was a separate set back when the old sets were coming out. So technically you could have had this if you bought this set along with that, but this one was just included in the set for the new one. Because all of these extra side builds were not included in the other set, it's really hard to do any sort of comparison with them. So I'm not really gonna talk about them much more in this video. I'm just mainly focusing on the main build themselves. I know there's a lot of fondness for this old set, and I understand it. It was the only version of this scene that we had until this year when we got the new version. But to me, I don't really think these compare well, especially when you look at just how much more you are getting from this set than the old one. And if you look at it, if you were to pick this setup today, it's gonna cost you about the same thing that the new one costs. So honestly, it really doesn't feel worth it unless you're really after some of those unique minifigures. Buying this set today, I believe, is gonna cost somewhere in between $250 to $350. I know that's a big range, but these sets can vary a lot depending on who's selling them and the condition of them. So if you say this is selling for $300 and this set over here is $270, it doesn't really make sense why you would ever pick this one up unless you're a completionist and you just wanna have everything, or again, are really after those minifigures. I really think this one is the winner of these two. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you think differently, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Maybe you'll teach me something that I didn't know, or if there's something I missed in this video, make sure to let me know in the comments. But that's gonna do it. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate the support. Here's some more videos. Until the next time, I'll catch you later.